from Project BRZ here. Today I'm going to be showing you how to install this sandwich plate oil cooler into your BRZ or 86 or FRS. As you can see here, we've actually already got it installed on the car, but what we've done is we've filmed a video of us installing it before we did that to show you how it all works. So you can see the sandwich plate sits between the oil filter and the engine block, and then there's a coolant line which runs around and into the throttle body oil line underneath there, which you can't actually see, but you'll see in the install guide. So how it actually works is, this is the sandwich plate here. You can see there's a coolant line running in and another coolant line running out, which loops through the engine. And the oil filter itself screws down here. There's a bolt, which you'll see in the video, which goes through. And if you look inside, you can see there's a series of little veins inside here. So the coolant runs through those veins, and on the opposing side of each of those veins is the oil. So what's happening is it's bringing the temperature of the two different liquids to an equilibrium. So without further ado, let's get into the actual install and we'll show you how it's done.
Alright, so for the install, what you're going to need is a flat blade screwdriver to take your intake snorkel off here. You're going to need a Phillips head for this one here. Pair of pliers for the breather line that goes back into the intake, and a oil filter removal tool to take the oil filter off, and a 24mm long tube socket to take the stem out of the actual engine block itself. Alright, so now we're going to take this intake snorkel off here to assess the coolant passage that goes underneath. It actually feeds the throttle body. That's plenty of coolant for what you need it for, so this is where we're going to pull the coolant from. So firstly, we're going to just take this with our flat blade screwdriver. We actually use a flat blade screwdriver in this too if it fits. Yep. So we need to take your sound tube off first, which should basically, once the clamp's off, you can pull that straight out. You can actually move this to the side here. Get that out of the way. Get all these clamps loose, get this one loose. And then you're going to need to take this clamp off. Give it a twist. Tube should come off. And this one here as well. Like so. If this one's loose, you can actually take this one out too. That's out. So now we're going to take the oil filter off. We got one of these from basically Super Cheap or wherever, Burson's. What you do is you get one of these removal tools, wrap it around, get some sort of tension on it, and you get your ratchet of some sort or a breaker bar. Start to put a bit of tension on it, obviously in anti-clockwise motion. It should slowly come straight off like that. Now that's loose, we should be able to undo it by hand, like so. Next up, 24mm tube socket. This one's a 1/2" drive. It's going to have a bit of tension on it, just to get it loose like that. Take your stem out. You got to make sure that the engine's cooled down a bit. So this is your stock one here. As you can see, if we put it next to the longer one, you can see the difference there. So now what we're going to do is get the longer one out of the kit. Get here, we're going to snake this hose down under the aircon compressor, like so. Ends up coming up near the throttle body, so you end up having this sitting just like that. Long stem through your filter. It's already got an O-ring on the actual, as you can see there, on the actual cooler itself. Put this straight down. Right there. Like so. You want the outlet to be about in between your oil cap and your cover for your injectors right there, about in the center right there. And you just tighten this up with your socket and your 24mm. A bit of tension here. It's got an O-ring, so it doesn't need to be super tight. Like so. Alright, so now that your coolant feed is going under your aircon pump, you get your other hose out of your kit, feed that down the same spot. Might be a bit tricky, but basically it just goes down there, like that. Pull that through. This pipe here is going to go in front of it. It's going to actually curl around the front, around your oil filler, and basically go straight into the pipe there. There's cable ties supplied in the kit just to tie it to all these little plugs and everything here, just so it sits just like that. There's actually two little coolant temp sensor down here. One's for the gauge, one's just for the ECU. If you actually push the hose in between these two, it actually clips in quite nicely, just like that. I don't know if you can see, Mr. Cameraman, but it actually goes right down in between. This will curl up. Basically, you just go straight on there. We're gonna have to put clamps on these first, so don't actually push it straight on, otherwise you're gonna have a fun time getting it back off. Clamps supplied in the kit are just these ones straight from, they're actually made by Trident, so quite good quality. Slip a clamp on, slip it straight onto your outlet side. So now we're going to just do these clamps up. Make sure it's tight so it doesn't leak. Like so. We're just going to tie these now to the few little one's a cam angle sensor down here. It's a bit hard to see, it's a bit dark, but throw a cable tie around that just to hold it nice and steady. Alright, so now what you want to do is you take your oil filter out of the box. You're going to put a little smear of oil, just like that, around your oil, your O-ring. You just screw this down hand tight. Should go straight on, just like that. Make sure that's tight. So now you're going to want to connect your two coolant lines. These coolant lines are going to come from this little loop here that supplies your throttle body. This loop is what's used actually in turbo cars to supply the turbo oil feed. If you have a turbo, obviously you're going to have to find a way to tee into these lines to go to your oil cooler and then back. Or you can actually, there's one of these lines, the actual one that supplies this whole lot comes from the back. Just down the back here, you can't really see it from up the top, but if you get a torch down there, you can actually see where it supplies from. To get these off, you're going to obviously have to get a pair of pliers first. Alright, so the next step you want to do is you want to try and pull this off. If you didn't drain your coolant, you want to pull this off and put these hoses on as quick as you can, just to try and minimize as much coolant going everywhere as you can. So what we've done, we've taken this loop off. So we've taken both these clamps off, pulled the loop off. We've connected both of these two lines to where the loop was fed from. Now we're just going to slide these clamps down to where the old clamps were, like so. You can use your screwdriver to kind of get in there and push it in. You want to angle the clamps up and in a position so you can actually access them from the top up here, like so. So you should be able to get your screwdriver through there, onto the clamp, and tighten it up. As you can see, these two hoses are now into their supply and returns. Hose clamps all done on both, and it's time to now put the intake back on. Okay, so intake goes back on, straight down there. Put this sound tube back in. Put this straight back into its little hole there. You're going to line your bottom intake into the throttle body down there. Goes on like so. First we'll start off with this breather. Pinch these clamps like this. Back over the hose like so. Get your Phillips head. We'll do this one back up. Alright, next step now is basically just to start up the engine. Check for leaks for the coolant. You're going to have to wait until it gets up to an operating temperature until you can actually tell if it's going to leak enough, but looks all good to me.
Okay, so we've installed the oil cooler, we've run the engine up to full operating temperature and checked that there's no leaks or anything like that. Everything was running great. And you'll also see there's another video which I'll link now where we actually did an analysis of the post-install temperatures as well. So make sure you check that out as well. Very, very happy with how it performed. So yeah, I hope this video has been useful for you. If it has been, like the video and subscribe to the channel for lots more information. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time.